Hey there, fellow gardeners. Welcome back to Roothaven grounds. Today we're diving into one of the most exotic and rewarding fruits you can grow in your own backyard, dragon fruit. I know what you're thinking. Isn't that one of those fancy tropical fruits I see at the grocery store for way too much money? Yes, it is! But here's the secret I'm thrilled to share with you. Growing dragon fruit is actually much easier than you'd imagine, and the payoff is absolutely worth it. Whether you're a complete beginner just getting your hands dirty for the first time, or an experienced gardener looking to add something spectacular to your collection, this guide will walk you through everything you need to know. By the end of this article, you tomin you become bardistalito bistante you must be ready to plant, nurture, and harvest your very own dragon fruit. Trust me, once you bite into that sweet, refreshing fruit that you grew yourself, you'll wonder why you didn't start sooner. Before we jump into the how-to, let's get acquainted with what we're actually growing. Dragon fruit, also known as pitaya, comes from a climbing cactus called Hylocereus. Yes, you read that right, it's a cactus. But don't let that intimidate you. This isn't your typical desert cactus. Dragon fruit plants are tropical cacti that love warmth and can tolerate a bit more moisture than their desert cousins. The plant produces stunning flowers that bloom at night, often called moonflowers, and they're absolutely breathtaking. These flowers then transform into the vibrant pink or yellow fruits with that distinctive scale-like skin. The flesh inside can be white, red, or magenta, studded with tiny black seeds that add a delightful crunch. Here at Roothaven grounds we've experimented with several varieties, and I can tell you that each one has its own personality. The most common varieties you'll encounter are the white-fleshed and red-fleshed types, both equally delicious and relatively easy to grow. Dragon fruit plants thrive in USDA zones 9 through 11, which means they love warm climates. If you're in a cooler zone, don't despair just yet. You can absolutely grow dragon fruit in containers and bring them indoors during cold months. I've seen gardeners in Zone 7 successfully growing these beauties with a little extra care. The ideal spot for your dragon fruit plant needs full sun, and I mean at least 6 to 8 hours of direct sunlight daily. These plants are sun worshippers, and the more light they get, the more fruit they'll produce. However, if you're in an extremely hot climate where temperatures regularly exceed 100 degrees Fahrenheit, a bit of afternoon shade can prevent stress on your plant. One thing I've learned through trial and error is that dragon fruit plants need excellent drainage. They're susceptible to root rot if they sit in waterlogged soil, so choose a location where water doesn't pool after rain. If your soil tends to be heavy or clay-like, you'll want to amend it significantly or consider raised beds or containers. Let's talk soil. Dragon fruit plants prefer a slightly acidic to neutral pH, somewhere between 6.0 and 7.0. The soil mix should be well-draining and rich in organic matter. I typically create a blend of regular potting soil, cactus mix, and compost in equal parts. Some gardeners add perlite or sand to improve drainage even further, and that's never a bad idea. Now here's something crucial that many beginners overlook. Dragon fruit plants are climbers and need substantial support. In their natural habitat, they climb trees, but in your garden, you'll need to provide a sturdy trellis or post. I recommend a post that's at least 5 to 6 feet tall and quite thick. Think 4x4 lumber or metal pipe. The plant will eventually become quite heavy when it's mature and loaded with fruit, so don't skimp on this. The most popular support structure is a single central post with a circular support at the top, kind of like an umbrella frame. This allows the branches to cascade down naturally while still being supported. You can get creative here, and I've seen some absolutely gorgeous trellis designs that turn the dragon fruit plant into a real focal point in the garden. You can start dragon fruit from seeds, but I'll be honest with you, it's a test of patience that can take years before you see fruit. For most of us at Roothaven grounds, starting with cuttings is the way to go. You'll get fruit much faster, usually within 1 to 2 years. If you're buying a cutting, look for one that's at least 12 inches long and has a healthy green color without any soft spots or discoloration. Once you have your cutting, let it callus over for about a week in a shaded, dry location. This step is important because it prevents rot when you plant it. When you're ready to plant, dig a hole large enough to accommodate the cutting with about 3 to 4 inches below the soil line. Plant it firmly and pack the soil around it to provide stability. Water it lightly, just enough to settle the soil, and then hold off on watering for about a week to let the roots establish without risking rot. During the first few weeks, your cutting may look a bit sad, but don't panic. It's focusing its energy on root development rather than top growth. Once those roots take hold, you'll start seeing new growth emerging from the top, and that's when the real excitement begins. One of the biggest mistakes I see beginners make is overwatering their dragon fruit plants. Remember, these are cacti and they're adapted to periods of drought. During the growing season from spring through fall, water deeply but infrequently. I typically water mine every 1 to 2 weeks, allowing the soil to dry out between waterings. You can check by sticking your finger into the soil. If it's dry 2 inches down, it's time to water. In winter, cut back on watering significantly. The plant goes into a semi-dormant state and barely needs any moisture. I usually water mine once a month at most during winter, and sometimes not at all if we get decent rainfall. Fertilizing is where you can really boost your plant's performance. Dragon fruit plants are surprisingly hungry feeders. I use a balanced fertilizer with equal parts nitrogen, phosphorus, and potassium, applied every other month during the growing season. Some gardeners swear by organic options like compost tea or fish emulsion, and I rotate between synthetic and organic fertilizers with great results. About 2 months before the expected blooming period, switch to a fertilizer higher in phosphorus and potassium to encourage flower and fruit production. This little trick has significantly increased my harvest yields over the years. As your dragon fruit grows, you'll need to train it up your support structure. Gently tie the stems to the post, using soft plant ties or strips of fabric. Avoid anything that might cut into the plant as it grows. The goal is to get the main stems climbing upward until they reach the top of your support structure. Once the stems reach the top, they'll naturally start to cascade downward, creating that beautiful fountain effect. This is exactly what you want because these cascading branches are where most of your flowers and fruit will develop. Pruning is essential for maintaining a productive plant. Remove any damaged, diseased, or dead stems whenever you notice them. After your plant starts fruiting, I recommend thinning out some of the interior growth to improve air circulation. This helps prevent fungal issues and allows better light penetration, which leads to more flowers and fruit. Don't be afraid to prune. Dragon fruit plants are vigorous growers and bounce back quickly. I typically do a major pruning session once a year in late winter before the growing season kicks in. Here's where things get magical. Dragon fruit flowers are absolutely spectacular, often measuring 6 to 8 inches across with white petals and a sweet fragrance. They bloom at night, typically opening around sunset and closing by morning. If you've never witnessed this, set a reminder on your phone. It's truly a sight to behold. Most dragon fruit varieties are self-pollinating, but cross-pollination from another variety often produces larger, better quality fruit. If you only have one plant, or want to ensure good pollination, you can hand-pollinate using a small paintbrush. Simply collect pollen from one flower and brush it onto the stigma of another, or the same flower for self-fertile varieties. The flowers only last one night, so timing is everything. I usually check my plants around dusk during the blooming season, and if I see flowers opening, I'll hand-pollinate them just to be safe. It only takes a few minutes and dramatically improves fruit set. After successful pollination, the fruit takes about 30 to 50 days to mature, depending on the variety and weather conditions. You'll watch it grow from a small green bud into a magnificent fruit right before your eyes. The anticipation is almost as sweet as the fruit itself. Knowing when to harvest is crucial. The fruit should be fully colored, and the scales or wings on the skin should start to wither slightly and turn from green to red or yellow. The fruit should give slightly when you gently press it, similar to a ripe avocado. If you harvest too early, the fruit will be bland and disappointing. Too late, and it may split or start to ferment on the vine. To harvest, simply twist the fruit gently, or use clean pruning shears to cut it from the plant, leaving a small stem attached. Handle them carefully as they can bruise easily. Fresh dragon fruit doesn't last long at room temperature, so refrigerate any you won't eat immediately. They'll keep for about a week in the fridge. Even though dragon fruit is relatively easy to grow, you might encounter a few challenges along the way. The most common issue I see at Roothaven grounds is root rot from overwatering. If you notice the base of your plant turning yellow or brown and feeling mushy, you've got rot. Cut away the affected portions immediately and let the plant dry out completely before adjusting your watering schedule. Scale insects and mealybugs occasionally show up on dragon fruit plants. These pests look like small bumps or white cottony masses on the stems. I treat them with a spray of neem oil or insecticidal soap, applied in the evening to avoid burning the plant in direct sunlight. If your plant isn't flowering, it might be too young. They typically need to be at least 2 years old and well established, not getting enough light, or receiving too much nitrogen fertilizer, which promotes leafy growth over flowers. Adjust these factors and be patient. Sometimes it just takes another season. Growing dragon fruit is one of those gardening adventures that constantly rewards you with something beautiful to look at and something delicious to eat. From the architectural beauty of the plant itself, to those stunning nocturnal blooms, and finally to those jewel-tone fruits, every stage of the process is satisfying. Here at Roothaven Grounds, we believe that every gardener should experience the joy of growing something truly special, and dragon fruit definitely fits that bill. The journey from cutting to your first harvest might take a couple of years, but I promise you it's worth every moment of patience. If you found this guide helpful, don't forget to subscribe to our channel and share this article with your fellow gardening enthusiasts. Drop a comment below and let me know about your dragon fruit growing experiences. I love hearing your success stories and helping troubleshoot any challenges you're facing. Happy growing! And here's to your most exotic harvest yet.